Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, I'm about to reveal the delicate art of speaking so people respect you without ever having to raise your voice. Stick around because these game-changing tips could revolutionize the way you communicate for good. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. It's not about being the loudest, brightest, or most experienced. It's about how you speak. In this video, I'm spilling the tea on methods to speak so people can't help but appreciate you. Some of these recommendations will make you nod, while others could make you squirm, but I promise they'll all transform the way people see you. Ready to level up your voice? Let's go. 1. Ditch the "I'm sorry" habit. Okay, let's speak about the 2 words that are ruining your life. I'm sorry. Yeah, I said that. Stop apologizing for every little thing. It's not adorable, it's not courteous, and it's absolutely not helping others respect you. Controversial? Sure. But let's break this down. When you apologize unnecessarily, you're not being polite, you're undercutting yourself. It's like you're telling the world, hey, don't take me seriously, I'm already presuming I'm wrong. You're virtually offering them license to walk all over you. Picture this. You go into a room and say, sorry I'm late. Even if you're just 2 minutes behind since traffic was a nightmare. Now, you've portrayed yourself as the problem when honestly, life just occurred. Or how about this classic, someone crashes into you and you blurt out, oh, sorry. What are you sorry for being physically present? Let me tell you about the time I realized I had a full-blown sorry addiction. I was in a meeting when someone interrupted me. And guess what I said? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Excuse me, why was I apologizing for being interrupted? That was my turning point. So I started catching myself every time I was about to say, I'm sorry. I stopped and questioned myself. Do I actually owe anyone an apology? Or am I just trying to soften the moment? Spoiler alert, most of the time, I didn't owe anyone an apology at all. Why? Speaking with confidence matters. 90% of the time, there is no reason to apologize. Apologizing when it's unneeded isn't just a habit, it's a mindset. It's like you're apologizing for existing, for taking up space, for being human. If you keep doing it, guess what? People will start to believe you. They'll regard you as someone who's always in the wrong. Someone who doesn't value themselves enough to stand tall. But here's the reality. You have every right to take up space, to express your thoughts, and to make mistakes. Respect doesn't come from apologizing continuously. It comes from owning your presence and embracing your shortcomings. So what can you say instead of apologizing? Let's rework the script. Instead of saying, sorry I'm late, try, thank you for waiting. Instead of sorry for bothering, offer, do you have a moment? Instead of sorry, can I add something? Go with, I'd like to add something. Boom! Now you're confident and considerate without apologizing for simply existing. The next time you're about to say, I'm sorry, pause and ask yourself, do I truly need to apologize? Or am I just trying to make myself smaller? Respect starts with how you respect yourself. Ditch the unneeded apologies. And you'll be shocked at how people start to see and hear you differently. Now, let's speak about creating limits and sticking to them. Let's get straight to the point. If you're not setting boundaries, you're not being unselfish, you're being spineless. Yeah, I said it. Before you get irritated, think about it. How many times have you agreed to something you didn't want to do merely to avoid conflict? How often have you allowed someone to overstep because you didn't want to appear difficult? Here's why boundaries aren't simply good to have, they're crucial for respect. Boundaries aren't about keeping people away. They're about educating others how to engage with you respectfully. Think of them as the rules of your personal game. No bounds, no rules. Without rules, people will engage with you any way they choose. Spoiler alert, that rarely ends well for you. Let me make it simple. When you don't set boundaries, you're essentially saying, your comfort is more important than my peace of mind. Does that sound familiar? That's why you end up answering texts at 2 a.m. or working late because someone else failed to accomplish their duty. Here's where it becomes controversial. When you begin setting boundaries, people will get offended. Why? Because they're used to you bending over backward for them. Trust me, I've been there. One time, I told a close friend I couldn't assist them relocate because I had other commitments. Their response? A guilt trip. Wow, I thought I was someone they could rely on. For a moment, I almost gave in. But then I realized it wasn't about me being a bad friend. It was about them not respecting my time. So I remained tight to my limit, and you know what? They found someone else to help. Key techniques for gaining respect. We're still buddies. And then I opened up the video camera and showed my son again the sad look in his eyes. People will adjust, but only if you maintain the line. I'll never forget the day I realized my lack of boundaries was costing me my calm. I had this coworker who routinely dropped last-minute projects on me. At first, I would answer, "Sure, no problem," since I wanted to be helpful. But soon I observed a pattern. Every time I bailed them out, they'd do it again. One night, as I was staying late to repair their faults, I had an epiphany. Why am I valuing their messiness over my own life? So the next time they attempted it, I responded, "I can't help with that right now. You'll need to figure it out." Did they sulk? Yes. Did they manage on their own? Absolutely. And for once I went home on time. Here's the truth. Limits aren't about being harsh. They're about demonstrating both yourself and others that your time, energy, and well-being matter. If you don't value your own limits, no one else will. But here's the flip side. Boundaries aren't just for the individuals who respect you. They're also for those who don't. Setting limits helps you filter out people who aren't willing to treat you with dignity. And that's not selfish, it's self-preservation. Here's a tip. Don't over-explain. Boundaries are negotiable. Also, try saying no to minor things. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it grows. Start with something low stakes, like turning down an invitation you're not enthused about. Once you know the world doesn't end when you say no, it gets easier. Look, creating limits isn't easy. It's uncomfortable and it's going to ruffle some feathers. But the alternative, living a life where everyone else's demands come before your own, is a rapid pathway to fatigue and contempt. So start small. Define what you need, convey it effectively, and most importantly, stick to it. Because the only people who get offended about your boundaries are the ones who gain from you having none. And honestly, good riddance. Set the border. Trust me, it's worth it. Master the art of pausing. You felt that, didn't you? That little moment of stress when I halted. That's the power of silence, my friend. It makes folks pay attention. But here's the thing. Most people are so uncomfortable with quiet that they'll do everything to fill it. They overtalk, rush their arguments, and end up seeming like they're trying to sell something, rather than just giving their opinions. But here's the shocking truth. The pause isn't empty. It's where your power lies. We live in a world that values speed. Fast talkers are frequently perceived as confident, sharp thinkers. But here's the catch. Quick doesn't always equal effective. When you speak too quickly without pauses, your words can become background noise, something others hear but don't truly listen to. A break, however, forces individuals to tune in. It creates anticipation. It's like music. Imagine a music that's just a steady stream of beats without any breaks. It would be overwhelming, right? A gap in music produces rhythm, and a pause in speaking does the same. It's not about saying less. It's about making every word count. I wasn't always a fan of pausing. In fact, I was terrible at it. Back in the day, I thought I needed to prove myself with a continuous stream of words, whether in meetings, chats, or even on dates. I was continually filling the air. Fearing silence would make me seem uneasy. Honestly, it didn't make me look clever or confident. It made me exhausting. There was this one time I was pitching a concept at work. I was so wrapped up in discussing every detail that I didn't notice folks had checked out halfway through. Later, my manager called me aside and said, "You've got great ideas, but you don't give people time to process them." Ouch, right? That was my wake-up call. I realized I was doing all the effort for my audience instead of trusting them to catch on. When I started practicing pauses, it felt uncomfortable at first, really strange. I'd say something, stop to let it soak in, and immediately want to jump in and justify myself. But over time, something extraordinary happened. People started paying more attention. Instead of fading out, they were leaning in. They weren't simply hearing me, they were listening. Here's the moment that really reinforced it for me. I was presenting a presentation, and I purposefully slowed down, inserting pauses after essential points. Afterwards, someone came up to me and said, "That was so impactful. I felt like every syllable mattered." That's when I understood I was onto something. It wasn't just about what I said, it was about how the power of effective communication. Here's the deeper lesson. Pausing isn't just about speaking, it's about presence. It's about being so sure in your words that you don't feel the need to fill every moment with noise. A silence suggests, "I trust my words to speak for themselves." That's an uncommon kind of confidence. And that's exactly why it commands respect. But it's not just about confidence. Pausing also teaches us patience. It forces us to slow down and let things soak in. And let's be honest, in a world that's always rushing, there's something strong about someone who's ready to take their time. It demonstrates they appreciate their words and yours. Now, let me address the detractors, since I know you're out there. You're probably thinking, if I pause, people will think I'm lost or unsure. Let me invert that for you. Pausing doesn't make you look unsure. It makes you look purposeful. It conveys to folks that you're thinking, being thoughtful, and not afraid of a little silence. And if someone perceives that for hesitation, that's their problem, not yours. The art of pausing isn't just about speech, it's about life. It's about knowing when to slow down, when to let things breathe, and when to let quiet speak louder than words. So the next time you're tempted to fill the holes with speech, refuse. Trust the pause. Lean into the discomfort, because when you conquer the pause, you don't simply gain respect, you own the room. And honestly, that's the kind of power you deserve. See what I did there? Use comedy without turning into a clown. Humor is like chili sauce. Used right, it elevates everything. Used poorly, it spoils the whole dish. And let me tell you, nothing erodes respect faster than crossing the line from being hilarious to being a clown. I know that seems harsh, but someone's got to say it. So let's break it down. How to utilize comedy to earn respect instead of losing it. First, let's be clear. Comedy is a terrific tool. It breaks tension, develops connections, and can even make you seem wiser. Yeah, studies back it up. But here's the problematic part. If you're not careful, comedy can backfire. Rely too much on jokes, especially self-deprecating ones, or continuously play the fool, and people will start seeing you as, well, a fool. And trust me, no one appreciates a joke that doesn't know when to quit. Here's where it gets real. I used to be that guy, the one who always had a joke ready, even when the circumstance didn't call for it. I believed I was being charming, but in truth, I was undercutting myself. I'll never forget this one occasion in a meeting when I cracked a joke about my job, something like, "Oh, I'm just here to make spreadsheets look pretty." Everyone laughed, but afterward, my manager pulled me aside and said, "You're too good at what you do to downplay yourself like that." That hit me hard. I understood that while humor was gaining the attention, it wasn't always the kind of attention I desired. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you need to transform into some ultra-serious robot. Humor is a wonderful way to develop connection and lighten the mood. But here's the key. It has to serve a purpose. Are you using comedy to connect with people, or are you using it to deflect, distract, or beg for approval? For example, self-deprecating humor can be nice in moderation. It demonstrates humility and relatability, but if you're continuously the butt of your own jokes, people can start to believe it. There's a narrow line between laughing with someone and giving them permission to laugh at you. Here's the deeper message. Humor is about timing, intent, and balance. When utilized intelligently, it's a sign of intelligence and confidence. But when it becomes a crutch, it's a symptom of insecurity. I know, because I've been there. There was a period in my life when I used comedy to dodge uncomfortable conversations. If someone gave me critical input, I'd throw a joke to deflect. If I felt uncomfortable in a serious debate, I transformed it into a laugh fest. And you know what happened? People stopped taking me seriously. I had to realize that respect doesn't come from being the funniest person in the room. It comes from understanding when to be serious and when to be humorous. The difficulty is finding that sweet spot. Humor should add to the debate, not take away from it. It should make people feel connected, not distracted. And most importantly, it should show your confidence, not your insecurity. A well-timed joke can indicate that you're bright and in charge. But a constant bombardment of jokes might make you look like you're trying too hard. And let's not forget, humor may be risky. Sarcasm, for example, may either make you look smart or make you look like a jerk. It all depends on how it lands. Dark comedy, same deal. Know your audience, and for the love of all things, read the room. Boom. There's nothing more cringeworthy than a joke that bombs because it was. Well, out of place. How to influence others through your speech. Tone deaf at its core, humor is a type of communication. And like any other form of communication, it reflects who you are. Are you utilizing it to build people up or tear them down? Are you masking your insecurities or showcasing your confidence? Because here's the truth. Respect isn't about how many people laugh at your jokes. It's about how your comedy makes them feel. So the next time you're about to crack a joke, ask yourself, what's my intent? Am I using humor to connect, or am I hiding behind it? Because when you hit that balance, when you utilize comedy with purpose and confidence, you're not just funny, you're unforgettable. And hey, if all else fails, just remember, dad jokes are usually a crowd pleaser unless they're horrible, in which case maybe rethink your plan. Drop the gossip. Let's become controversial. Gossip. You know, that tasty little scoop about Karen from account, or that thing your pal vowed you wouldn't tell anyone. Gossip doesn't make you look intriguing, it makes you look untrustworthy. And if you're the one spilling all the tea, guess what? No one's respecting you. They're merely entertained until they learn they might be next on your list. Now, don't get me wrong, I get the appeal. Gossip feels like social currency. It feels wonderful in the moment, like you're part of some elite club. But here's the flip side. Every time you indulge in gossip, you're telling the people around you, I can't be trusted. It's not only about the person you're talking about, it's about you. And if people can't trust you, they can't respect you, period. I learned this the hard way. Let me tell you about the time I got burned by my own love of gossip. There was this colleague of mine, let's call him Dave. Dave was frequently showing up late. And one day, I made an offhand comment to someone else about how he presumably had an alarm clock that despised him. It was a joke, but it spread like wildfire. Before I knew it, people were adding their own portions to the story. Dave was lazy. Dave didn't care about his job. The next thing I knew, Dave was the talk of the workplace, and I was the one who started it. What I didn't recognize was that I had developed a narrative about it. That little joke had developed into something bigger, something that wasn't just about him anymore, it was about me. I had just showed the team that I wasn't trustworthy enough to keep confidential stuff to myself. Here's the thing, gossip doesn't only hurt the person being talked about, it hurts you too. When you gossip, you put yourself in the same category as the person you're talking about. You're no longer the trusted friend or reliable coworker, you become someone more interested in the drama than in respecting people's privacy. And when people see that in you, they'll start to wonder what you say behind their backs. So here's the point, drop the rumor. If you want to win respect, not only will you be seen as more trustworthy, but you'll also be recognized as someone who values the integrity of your relationships. Lead with empathy. Empathy is a game changer. It's the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. When you lead with empathy, people feel seen, heard, and respected. And guess what? That makes them respect you. But here's the twist. Empathy isn't about being soft. It's about understanding someone's point of view, even if you disagree with it. When you demonstrate empathy, you're not giving up your own ideals or opinions. You're simply accepting that someone else's perspective is genuine. Take a moment to listen, ask questions, and genuinely attempt to see things from their point of view. When you do this, you construct bridges instead of walls. You establish trust instead of conflict. Now, let's face it, not everyone is easy to empathize with. Some people can be tough, challenging, or just plain aggravating. But that's where empathy becomes a true measure of character. It's easy to exhibit empathy while things are going smoothly, but real respect comes when you can empathize with someone who's made your day worse. It's the difference between becoming furious and being intrigued. I've had my share of uncomfortable conversations, and I've found that when you reply with empathy, it transforms the whole dynamic. People cease feeling like they need to defend themselves and they start to open up. They start to feel heard. And that respect that follows, it's genuine. Speak with conviction. There's a difference between stating something and saying something with conviction. When you talk with conviction, people take you seriously. They know that you stand behind your remark. It doesn't matter if you're delivering a business proposal, offering a recommendation in a meeting, or simply making an observation. You speak with conviction, and people respect you because they can sense your confidence and believe in what you're saying. But here's the trick. Conviction doesn't equal being arrogant, building strong relationships through communication. Dogmatic doesn't mean never admitting you're wrong. What it implies is that when you express yourself, you do so with confidence and clarity. You don't apologize for your opinion or apologize for the space you occupy, you own it. One of the things I learned over time is that speaking with conviction isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. When you tell your truth, regardless of whether it's popular or not, people admire you for your honesty and your courage to take a stand. Conviction also makes you more persuasive. People are more likely to follow someone who speaks with confidence than someone who is doubtful or unduly cautious. Stay calm under pressure. Let's be real, life throws curveballs. Whether it's a crisis at work, a terrible personal situation, or an unanticipated emergency, how you respond under pressure reveals a lot about your character. Staying calm under pressure is one of the most appreciated skills you can have. When everyone around you is panicking out and you remain cool, people notice. It doesn't mean you have to be heartless or frigid. It just means you don't allow the issue rule you. You keep collected, take a step back, assess the issue, and make judgments with clarity and level-headedness. I remember one extremely tough project at work. The deadline was looming, the team was tense, and everything looked to be falling apart. People were panicking, running around, and acting like the world was ending. Instead of joining the uproar, I took a deep breath, spoke calmly, and proposed that we break things down into manageable chunks. People quickly looked to me for guidance, and the respect began flowing in. Be reliable. Reliability is one of the cornerstones of respect. When you say you're going to do something, do it. When you commit to a deadline, meet it. Being reliable indicates that you appreciate not just your time, but other people's time as well. It's a simple concept, yet one that's often neglected. Here's the reality: if you can't rely on someone, it's hard to respect them. But when people can count on you, they trust you, and trust is the cornerstone of respect. Over time, this reliability establishes a reputation, and people will know that you're someone who follows through. Once you've built that reputation, it becomes one of your most important assets. You actually have more access to stuff that you used to be. Own your faults. Nobody's perfect. Mistakes happen, but what truly matters is how you address them. When you own up to your faults, you show humility and responsibility. You also show that you're not scared to admit when you're wrong. That takes courage, and it deserves respect. I've made lots of mistakes in my career, and I've learned the hard way that trying to hide them simply makes things worse. The moment I learned to accept my mistakes and take responsibility, people began to trust me more. They saw me as someone who could be honest even when it wasn't easy. And that type of respect is earned through honesty, accountability, and a willingness to improve. It was a wake-up call. I had been talking over my own success. I had made my point, but instead of letting it reverberate, I sought to drive it in with more words, believing I could somehow make it better. The reality is less is frequently more. When we talk too much, we start to dilute our message, and instead of creating impact, we risk losing our audience's attention. Here's the thing: when you know when to stop talking, you create room for others to process your words. Silence isn't awkward, it's powerful. It offers individuals the opportunity to ponder, to reflect, and to generate their own opinions about what you say. And guess what? That's when your message actually lands. People don't need to hear everything, they need to hear what counts. So next time you feel that temptation to keep chatting, pause. Take a time to breathe and let the words sit. Let them linger. When you do talk, make every word count. You'll find that people will respect your abilities to communicate more successfully. It's not about filling the air with noise, it's about recognizing when silence speaks louder than words. Be consistent. Consistency builds trust, and trust is the cornerstone of respect. People need to know that when you say you're going to do something, you're going to follow through. If you're the type of person who continually switches their thoughts or changes their conduct depending on the occasion, others will start to see you as untrustworthy. I've been guilty of this before changing my viewpoint on topics based on who I was talking to or what was handy at the time. But the more I did it, the less people took me seriously. Tips for speaking assertively. Seriously, consistency, on the other hand, makes you predictable in the greatest manner. People know where you stand, and they can count on you to remain the same person in any situation. But consistency isn't just about adhering to your word, it's also about being true to your principles. When you consistently show up in harmony with your principles, you acquire the type of respect that transcends beyond surface-level encounter. It's the kind of respect that doesn't waver no matter what occurs. Don't play the victim. This one's harsh, but important. Nobody respects a perpetual victim. Life brings obstacles at all of us, but how you respond to them influences how people perceive you. If you're continually moaning, blaming others, or searching for sympathy, people tend to view you as someone who isn't taking responsibility for their own life. It's okay to have rough days. It's all right to feel down sometimes, but if you make a pattern of wallowing in negativity and waiting for others to solve things for you, you're robbing yourself of respect. People respect those who take charge of their issues, who find solutions instead of getting caught in troubles. There was a period in my life when I was continually blaming events or other people for things not going my way, but once I took responsibility for my actions and focused on what I could control, things started to change. Not only did my confidence develop, but so did the respect others felt for me. People started to see me as someone who was in charge of their own life, someone who didn't rely on others for affirmation or pity. Take care of your health. This might sound like a strange one, but trust me, when you take care of your body and mind, you convey a message that you appreciate yourself. And when you respect yourself, others will follow suit. It's impossible to command respect when you're not even taking care of your own well-being. You don't have to be a fitness freak or a health guru, but taking the time to eat well, exercise, and prioritize mental health indicates that you're committed to becoming the best version of yourself. When you're well-rested, clear-headed, and robust, you show up as a more confident, capable person, and that commands respect. Embrace vulnerability now. I realize this one could seem paradoxical. Vulnerability frequently gets a bad rap, but here's the truth. Being vulnerable doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And people respect humans, not facades. When you open yourself and exhibit your actual self, your shortcomings, your challenges, your imperfections, you develop a greater connection with others. They realize that you're not trying to be flawless. You're just being honest. That honesty and transparency are some of the most respected attributes you can have. There was a time when I believed I had to have it all together to be the perfect version of myself at all times. But once I allowed myself to be vulnerable, to say when I didn't know something or when I was suffering, I found that people respected me even more. They appreciated my genuineness. Recap and final thoughts. Authenticity. When you come up as yourself, that's when the real magic happens. When I accepted my authentic self, it wasn't just about being mate, it was about creating space where others felt comfortable being themselves too. That's what creates a difference in how you communicate and how you utilize your words. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency, intentionality, and the bravery to stand by what you say even when it's uncomfortable. The way you speak, the pauses you take, the humor you use properly, the way you refuse to gossip, and hold your space with confidence at all factors into the respect you command. You're not just speaking to be heard, you're speaking to have an impression. You're speaking to make people think, to leave a mark. And here's the crucial takeaway. Respect isn't given, it's earned. Moment by moment, word by word, deed by action. It's about how you show up, not only in the big occasions, but in the tiny interactions too. Whether you're at business, among friends, or even at a family event, the manner you speak sets the tone for the respect you receive. Remember, it's not about how much you say or how much you wow them with your knowledge. It's about making every word count. It's about being consistent in your acts and words. It's about trusting the power of silence and knowing when to talk and when to stop. And above all, it's about demonstrating respect to people, since that's how you'll get respect in return. So if you ever feel like you're not getting the respect you deserve, take a step back and assess how you're communicating. Are you communicating with clarity? Are you listening with intent? Are you showing up authentically? If the answer is yes, you're on the correct path. If not, make those adjustments. Respect is a two-way street. The more you give, the more you'll gain. Be cautious of how you communicate. Words are powerful, and they'll always tell others exactly who you are. That's all for today, guys. Stay loyal to yourselves and keep speaking with purpose. If you found this useful, press that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and let me know in the comments how you plan to advocate for respect. Don't forget to subscribe for more real talk moments and methods that truly work. Keep owning your words, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay unapologetic with you.